Who is that? Why is she even here? Such audacity to appear so unadorned. Elara feels the stares, the judgment, but she holds her head high, her gaze fixed on a small, empty chair in a forgotten corner. The camera focuses on the intricate, almost glowing embroidery on Lady Seraphina's gown as she glides past. A picture of confident superiority, exchanging knowing glances with other highborns. A tense silence falls as the royal council enters, their faces grave. Lord Valerius, his eyes sweeping the room, pauses for a moment on Elara, a flicker of something unreadable in his gaze. King Orion, magnificent in his ceremonial furs, enters the vast hall. His presence commands instant respect, yet his eyes hold a weariness that belies his youth. He's tired of the political maneuvering, the shallow declarations of love. He carries the weight of his kingdom, a peace brokered generations ago, now fragile. An ancient prophecy speaks of a queen who would possess the silent flame, a power not of brute force, but of profound empathy and insight, one who would unite the disparate pacts against a coming darkness. His advisors, particularly Lord Valerius, constantly push him towards a strategic alliance with Lady Seraphina's pack. As Orion surveys the sea of expectant faces, he feels a growing disconnect, a sense that the true answer isn't among the dazzling displays. He longs for a genuine spirit, not a political pawn. He glances at the grand dais, then his eyes drift to the overlooked corner. Elara takes her seat at the small, isolated table. The empty chair beside her seems to hum with her solitude, a poignant symbol of her exclusion. She watches the other maidens, their faces alight with hope and ambition, clustering near the more prominent tables. She's learned not to expect much, to find peace in quiet observation. Suddenly, the grand trumpets blare, signaling the king's formal selection process. All eyes turn to Orion as he descends from his throne. The highborn maidens subtly shift, angling for his attention. Lady Seraphina beams, certain of her destiny, but Orion's path is not towards the grand tables. He walks past the shimmering silks, past the glittering jewels, his gaze locked forward. A collective gasp ripples through the hall as he approaches Elara's forgotten table. He reaches out, not for her hand, but for the empty chair. Orion pulls out the empty chair beside Elara and with a silent, deliberate motion, sits down. The entire hall is plunged into stunned silence. You could hear a pin drop. Lady Seraphina's confident smile crumbles, replaced by a mask of disbelief and fury. Lord Valerius's stoic expression flickers with shock. Elara, utterly bewildered, can barely breathe. A warm, undeniable current of energy sparks between her and Orion, a nascent mate bond forming despite their lack of words. Orion turns to her, a hint of a gentle smile in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement. He has chosen her. This act, seemingly small, shatters generations of tradition and immediately ignites a political powder keg. Whispers erupt, louder and more agitated than before. An omega, impossible. The king has lost his mind. Elara feels the weight of countless angry eyes. The very next day, Orion declares Elara under protective custody, a thinly veiled acknowledgement of the resentment bubbling beneath the surface. He assigns Lyra, a seemingly kind and attentive royal attendant, to guide Elara through court etiquette and customs. Lyra, however, has an agenda. She works for Lady Seraphina, tasked with making Elara appear unfit for the crown. Lyra's lessons are subtly designed to expose Elara's naivety. She praises Elara's simplicity while subtly highlighting her lack of formal education or aristocratic graces. During a simulated tea ceremony, Lyra accidentally tips a tray of delicate pastries, making it seem like Elara's clumsiness caused the mess, drawing a condescending smile from an observing Seraphina. Elara, though unnerved, remains gracious. News of Orion's choice spreads like wildfire, reaching the far corners of the kingdom and beyond. Rorik, the cunning alpha of the rival Shadowfang pack, sees an opportunity. He begins sending covert messages to disgruntled high-ranking alphas within Orion's dominion, hinting at a weakened king and a ripe moment for rebellion. Meanwhile, Ilara's only true friend in the castle, Kale, a loyal servant who once worked for her distant family, notices Lyra's increasingly suspicious behavior. He sees the subtle ways Lyra attempts to isolate Elara, to twist her words, and to make her doubt herself. Kale tries to warn Elara, suggesting that not all kindness is genuine, but Elara, trying to adapt, dismisses his concerns as overprotectiveness. A brief, unsettling scene shows Lyra meeting secretly with a hooded messenger at night. Lyra sets her trap. During a formal address by Lord Valerius to the Royal Council, she coaches Elara to offer a traditional sign of respect that is, in fact, an ancient, almost forgotten gesture of mild disdain from a different culture. Elara, trusting Lyra, performs the gesture. Lord Valerius, initially confused, quickly understands the perceived insult. His face darkens with fury. The royal council erupts in outrage. "The king's intended queen insults our elders," they thunder. Orion, though troubled, tries to defend Elara, but the evidence of the insult is clear. Lord Valerius, his trust severely shaken, demands that Elara be confined to her chambers until her conduct can be rectified. Orion, caught between duty and his growing feelings, sends Elara away with a pained expression, his belief in her momentarily wavering. Locked in her chambers, Elara feels the crushing weight of isolation and false accusation. She replays the ceremony in her mind, finally understanding Lyra's sinister manipulation. The mate bond, though young, aches with the strain of Orion's unspoken disappointment. Outside the castle walls, Rorik of the Shadowfang pack sees the escalating tension as his moment. He issues a formal declaration, challenging Orion's legitimacy as king, citing his unwise choice of mate and the resultant discord. He announces his intention to restore order to the unified packs, gathering his forces for an imminent invasion. A map is shown, highlighting the strategic passes that the Shadowfang forces are now occupying, inching closer to the capital. Kyle, desperate, realizes Elara is in danger. He manages to slip a message to her, detailing Lyra's treachery and her alliance with Lady Seraphina, who is now openly conspiring with Rorik. He also reveals a crucial piece of information. Lyra and Seraphina have sabotaged the castle's ancient communication network, severing the warning signals to Orion's border patrols. The insult was a distraction. Elara, confined and powerless, feels a surge of despair. But then, she remembers an old faded tapestry in her chamber, one Lyra had dismissed as quaint. It depicts an ancient battle and a specific sequence of constellations, a subtle pattern that Kyle had once told her was a backdoor signal for dire emergencies, known only to those with the silent flame. Recalling the prophecy of the silent flame and Kale's clue, Elara stares at the tapestry. She closes her eyes, focusing on the faint mate bond with Orion, pushing her essence, her deepest fears, and the urgent warning through it. Her silent flame isn't a physical roar, but a unique empathetic connection, a wave of profound alarm channeled directly into Orion's mind. The chamber glows with a soft, silver light emanating from Elara as she projects her thoughts. Orion, amidst a tense council meeting about Rorik's threat, is suddenly overwhelmed by a cascade of images. Lyra's deceit, Seraphina's betrayal, the severed communication lines, and an urgent sense of impending doom. He grasps his head, the silent flame searing into his consciousness. Lord Valerius looks on, alarmed by the king's sudden distress. Armed with Elara's psychic warning, Orion confronts Lyra and Lady Seraphina during a high-stakes emergency council meeting. He accuses them of treason and sabotage, producing an ancient, hidden scroll from a secret compartment in his throne that details the backdoor signal Elara had used, confirming its authenticity. Seraphina, cornered, sheds her facade. Her eyes blaze with a desperate fury as she admits to conspiring with Rorik, believing she was the true heir to the throne. "You chose an Omega over destiny," she snarls. "The kingdom will fall." Just then, a frantic guard bursts in, shouting that Shadowfang assassins have breached the castle walls, their timing impeccable with Seraphina's outburst. The insult distraction worked perfectly. Chaos erupts in the council chamber. Shadowfang assassins, led by a hulking figure, storm in, blades drawn, their objective clear: eliminate Orion. One assassin lunges directly at the king, his steel glinting. Orion, though a formidable warrior, is momentarily caught off guard. Just as the blade is inches from his throat, a brilliant wave of silver-blue energy bursts forth from Elara's distant chamber, unseen by anyone but powerfully felt. It washes over the assassins, not as a physical force, but as an overwhelming surge of profound sorrow, confusion, and empathy. Their aggressive intent dissolves. They stumble, their eyes wide with disorientation, dropping their weapons, their minds flooded with images of their own lost loved ones, their own pain. The hulking assassin freezes, his blade suspended midair. The bewildered assassins are quickly apprehended by Orion's guards. Seraphina, seeing her plans unravel and her allies defeated by an unseen force, lets out a guttural scream of defeat. Lord Valerius, witnessing the miraculous intervention, finally understands. He looks at Orion, then towards Elara's chambers, a newfound respect dawning in his eyes. Orion strides towards Seraphina, his voice calm but firm. "You misunderstood strength, Seraphina. It is not always in the loudest roar, but sometimes in the deepest spirit." He then formally arrests Seraphina and her co-conspirators. He then looks at Lord Valerius. "My queen saved us all," he states simply, "from her prison cell." Orion immediately rushes to Elara's chambers, Kale having already freed her. He finds her exhausted but resolute. He embraces her tightly, a wave of profound relief and gratitude washing over him. He explains how her silent flame saved his life, how her unseen power disarmed the assassins, fulfilling the prophecy. Lord Valerius, now humbled, arrives with the royal council. He publicly apologizes to Elara, acknowledging his prejudice and the superficial judgment of her simple clothes and quiet demeanor. "We were blind," he admits, "to the true strength of spirit. We judged the bark, not the roots." This scene offers a powerful lesson on humility and the dangers of superficial judgment. Elara, though still shy, stands taller, her quiet strength now openly recognized. With Seraphina's plot exposed and Rorik's invasion repelled, his forces confused and scattered by the same wave of empathetic energy from Elara's silent flame, a new era begins. Orion publicly declares Elara his queen, not just by right of mate bond, but by her profound bravery and unique power. He highlights how her silent flame not only saved him, but also instilled a sense of peace, however fleeting, in the hearts of their enemies, demonstrating a new path to unity. Elara, standing beside Orion, finally feels truly seen and valued. Her simple dress is no longer a symbol of shame, but of her genuine, unadorned strength. The other packs, initially skeptical, begin to understand the depth of her power and the wisdom of Orion's choice. The story concludes with Elara and Orion standing together, looking out over their kingdom. They discuss the future, the need to rebuild trust, and to foster a society where all wolves, regardless of their rank or appearance, are valued for their inherent spirit. The kingdom learns that true leadership isn't just about strength, but about empathy, resilience, and recognizing the hidden potential in everyone. The empty chair that once symbolized Ilara's loneliness now represents the boundless space for new perspectives and unexpected heroes. The camera pans out, showing the sunrise over the United Kingdom, a symbol of hope and a future built on respect and understanding. But I'll like to know, which part of Elara and Orion's new reign do you think would be the most difficult challenge to overcome?